Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover. So before we dive into these topics, be sure to leave the video a like if you end up enjoying it or finding it informative, and hit that subscribe button as well if you're new to the channel. We're starting here with some unfortunate news for E3. Apparently, there are now rumors circulating that E3 is going to be canceled this year. We just got the news that Ubisoft has pulled out of E3 in favor of doing their own standalone event or show. And now we're hearing that apparently Sega and Tencent are both also pulling out of E3. And on top of that, apparently there are other video game publishers and companies that are not planning on attending, or at least announcing that they don't plan to attend. And so at this point, you know, it's beginning to cause some conversation, and there are some rumblings that E3 2023 may end up being canceled. Now, something that's not going to be canceled is Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. In fact, he took this as an opportunity to remind people that this is happening, and it's going to be, you know, as he always says, bigger than it was the year before. And so obviously I'll tune into Summer Game Fest, but you know, it really does seem like this is potentially the end for E3. So let me know your thoughts on that. Moving to the next topic, we have an important update coming from Bloober Team on Silent Hill 2's development. They say here on their official Twitter account in a statement, as the Bloober Team, we don't comment on rumors. However, this time we need to take the floor, as some recent statements have been taken out of context due to inaccurate translations. Our company's messages did not contain sales forecasts of specific titles. The figures connected to Silent Hill 2 refer to the potential success of the type of game we will be focusing on in the future. It is also not true that we have announced that Silent Hill 2 is ready for release. Regardless of the development stage, all of our activities are focused on obtaining the highest quality for the finished product, the quality that fans of Silent Hill 2 deserve. We are aware that players are waiting for more information about Silent Hill 2. As soon as such information becomes available, we are sure that Konami, the publisher for the game, will share it with fans. Thank you for your support, and we will continue to do our best to provide high-quality games that give players the best emotional experience possible. So, yeah, pretty much what they're referring to are, you know, mistranslations that we did cover, and it is unfortunate because it kind of got me excited. You know, the translations that we got were basically saying that the game is pretty much done, not 100%, they're just in the final polishing stage, which, you know, got me hopeful that maybe we'll be seeing and hearing more of this game soon, and it could potentially come out this year. But Bloober Team is clarifying that that's not really what they were communicating. They don't let us know like what stage of development the game is in, you know, at. They don't say like whether or not it's halfway done, close to being finished, but either way, they're making it clear that it's not done yet, it's not ready for release. And when it comes to them talking about the sales figures, there was another translation where they said that they believe they might be able to sell like 10 million copies or something like that, which to a lot of people sounds pretty unrealistic. And so, you know, it's nice to hear the clarification here, because that is sometimes what happens, right? There are mistranslations or bad translations, and it ends up turning into misinformation. And so I'm glad that they were able to clarify this and set the record straight. So here's hoping we see more Silent Hill 2 sooner rather than later. Moving on to the next topic, I just want to let everybody know that if you are playing Tchia, update 1.008 is out now, and it's adding a 60 FPS performance mode for PS5. This is something that kind of caught me by surprise, because I wasn't aware that Tchia didn't have a performance mode at launch. Apparently it was locked at 30 frames per second. But the PS5 now supports 60 FPS at 1080p. It's unfortunate that the resolution is going to be locked at 1080p. I think a lot of people would have hoped for it to be a little bit higher, but generally speaking, I think people will be happy to be able to play the game at 60 FPS. And with this update, obviously there are some bug fixes. They resolved some crashing issues that some players were experiencing. So yeah, good news for Tchia. Moving on to the next topic, apparently Japan has approved Microsoft's Activision deal. This is what we just learned yesterday. This makes Japan, alongside Serbia, Chile, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia, the countries that have approved this, and it's looking likely that the UK as well as the EU are going to end up approving it as well. So at that point, really, it will just be the FTC mainly that is, still completely against it, which is still something significant. But Japan says that, quote, it's unlikely to result in substantially restraining competition in the country, end quote. So there you go. Japan has approved it. That's another country we can add to the list that is saying, this deal should be allowed to go through and they have no problem with it. And I think we are at a point where quite a few PlayStation fans are just eager to see this go through so it can be done and over with. And so we still don't know when exactly this thing is going to be completely over, but now that we have Japan approving it, we are one step closer to that reality. But moving on to the next set of topics, we have some unfortunate news regarding The Last of Us Part 1's PC release. Apparently on Steam, it's reviewing mostly negative. And the reason for this is the game is kind of a mess. Apparently it's crashing frequently for players, and it's just generally not performing well. This is something I've been seeing kind of going around all over Twitter and the internet in general, where people are paying for this game and excited to play it on PC, and it's just kind of a disaster. Now, something we learned is apparently the studio that ended up handling this PC version of The Last of Us Part 1 is Iron Galaxy, and this is bad news because this studio is pretty much known for bad PC port jobs, and this is just going to add to that list. And so it calls into question, Sony and Naughty Dog's decision to work with this studio, knowing that they have a bad history with PC releases. To me, this is incredibly unfortunate, and Naughty Dog has responded over on Twitter where they say, "The Last of Us Part 1 PC players, we've heard your concerns and our team is actively investigating multiple issues you've reported. We will continue to update you, but our team is prioritizing updates and will address issues in upcoming patches." So this is what Naughty Dog's saying, but still, this is a really bad look in my opinion, because Sony and Naughty Dog, look, we all know how important The Last of Us is to PlayStation. It's one of their biggest, most valuable, most impactful IPs. I'm kind of shocked that they would allow something like this to happen for something that's so important, especially when you consider the fact that Sony actually bought a studio, that being Nixxes, to specifically work on PC versions of games. Now, the reality is they probably couldn't work on The Last of Us Part 1 because they're busy working on something that, I don't know if it would be deemed more important than this, but something that they're just kind of already involved with, and so they couldn't really work on this port. But still, just the fact that Sony and Naughty Dog would willingly entrust something this important to a studio that has been known to screw up PC ports, pretty weird. And so, I have seen some PlayStation fans basically saying, like, who cares? And I get it. If you play on console and you've already bought this game for PS5 and you've enjoyed it, yeah, it's probably not that relevant to you. But still, I do think that if Sony is going to try to not harm their reputation with bringing, these games over to PC, and the whole point of this is to get people who haven't experienced these games before, who are maybe unaware of these games or just not interested in them, to maybe be interested in them and give them a try. If that's your goal, this is going to do the opposite, and it's just going to cause bad press and a negative reaction that at this point, if they had just delayed the game or just waited, or maybe even just canceled it straight up, right? Like, we're just not going to bother releasing this on PC because it's not going to be a good time, right? We're just going to get negative press. To me, that would have made more sense than what they're doing here. So, anybody who bought this game on PC, they're now just going to have to wait for it to be fixed. And it's important to point out here that Naughty Dog has confirmed that going forward, every one of their games that they develop will be developed for PC as well. They say here, rest assured, PlayStation and PC players, we're already looking forward to sharing more, whether you prefer a DualSense controller or a keyboard and mouse. Developing for both platforms empowers us to incorporate lessons learned from either into the overall design of our games. Sharing our stories and experiences on PS5 as well as PC is something that Naughty Dog has embraced and will continue to support moving forward. So, in my opinion, it's clear what they're referring to. They're absolutely talking about their next game, that being the Last of Us multiplayer experience. It will be a day-and-date release on PC, and it's likely going to be free to play, but I do think that they are also talking about any single-player games they do going forward. I don't know if the single-player games will necessarily be day-and-date releases. They could be, but they will eventually make their way to PC. This is what they're making clear here. And so as you can see, this just doesn't bode well, right? I don't think that anybody on PC right now is feeling really good about Naughty Dog saying this, because it's like, look, if this is the type of experience you're going to put out on PC, I don't think PC players are going to be excited about that. Now, we'll have to see what Naughty Dog does in the future. I'm assuming that for a game like The Last of Us multiplayer, they are currently optimizing it for PC to a certain extent in-house. I would assume they're not necessarily just porting it out. They might be. It's hard to say. Maybe that's what Nixxes is working on and why they couldn't work on The Last of Us Part 1. So we'll have to see. Either way, I think that we can all agree this is a bad look for Sony's PC approach and does not help. Moving on from that, I just want to let everybody know that there is a PS5 system update out now. It's not a major update, but they've rolled it out, and it says that an issue in game library where content was displayed incorrectly under certain conditions was resolved. So that's pretty much all this update does. But in case you were somebody who was experiencing that issue, rest assured that it should be corrected now once you download it. Moving on to the final topic of the video, we do have some exciting news regarding Horizon Forbidden West: The Burning Shores. We have Guerrilla coming out and basically hyping up some of the new tech that they are incorporating into this DLC, which may also explain why it's going to be PS5 only. So in a new PlayStation blog post, Horizon basically talks about their new cloud technology, and they're really hyping it up, basically saying that they've done some serious work with this, and when you're basically flying on a Sunwing, you're going to notice a big difference. So they say here the cloud systems that we developed for Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West were fast because they didn't store clouds as 3D objects, but rather instructions on creating 3D clouds from limited 2D information. The PS5 can handle larger data sets. So after Forbidden West wrapped, we set to work writing a voxel cloud renderer prototype that could live up to our standards for quality and allow the player to fly through highly detailed cloud formations. The result? Large Franken cloudscapes that feel like they're their own terrain and are treated as such. So while it's a gorgeous background while roaming the lands, it's also its very own environment. It was important to us to make the experience fun and joyful on its own outside of the main gameplay. The clouds are not simply immersive scenery, but an explorable landscape in themselves. Among the clouds, players will be able to explore tunnels, caves, and other surprises that make for fun flying. The best part is that depending on when you try any of these features, the experience will be different. As the day progresses, the quality and direction of light change, hiding and revealing some of these features and changing the feel of each journey. And I don't want to spoil anything, but we hope you aren't afraid of a little lightning. So this is something that we've been looking forward to when it comes to PlayStation's first-party studios. We're going to get a glimpse into what Guerrilla Games can now achieve and how they can kind of push the boundaries a little bit further now that they don't have to worry about developing for the PS5. And so one of the main areas they decided to try to do this is with the clouds, right, in the sky, saying that they want to make it kind of its own environment. And I'm interested in this because one of the coolest things about Horizon Forbidden West is you can fly a Sunwing, and it's awesome. And so for them to kind of expand that and make it even more immersive and hopefully interesting, ultimately, gameplay-wise, that's exciting to me. So yeah, we're starting to hear more about this Horizon Burning Shores DLC as we get closer to launch, and I will continue to keep you guys updated. So that does it for the video. If you enjoyed it or found it informative, again, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.